Hello, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a growing storm inside Belarus, a moment that analysts describe as one of the most dramatic internal tensions the country has faced in decades. Recent reports and discussions among observers suggest that a number of senior military figures may be resisting certain orders coming from the top leadership. While none of this is officially confirmed, the atmosphere of distrust and pressure inside Belarus has become an important talking point worldwide. This video explores the broader context, the reasons behind the rising tensions, what could be motivating the generals, and how this situation could influence Belarus's future. Everything discussed here is based on open analysis, expert commentary, and hypothetical scenarios built to help viewers understand the shifting landscape. Belarus has always maintained a highly centralized governance style, built on loyalty, obedience, and strict hierarchy. For years, the military has been considered one of the firmest pillars supporting the leadership. Generals were expected to follow orders without question, keep internal discipline tight, and maintain the appearance of absolute unity. But analysts have increasingly noted that beneath this controlled exterior, cracks may be forming. When a system depends heavily on loyalty rather than institutional strength, any hint of disagreement at the top becomes a serious vulnerability. The idea of generals refusing orders is not only shocking but also deeply symbolic. Military structures are designed to function through command and obedience. If high-ranking officers start to resist, even quietly or indirectly, it signals that something far bigger is happening beneath the surface. Experts often describe such moments as early warnings of institutional fatigue. A system can only hold its shape if its pillars remain firm, and when those pillars shake, the entire structure feels unstable. Many observers believe that the past few years have taken a heavy toll on Belarusian institutions. Social noise, external pressure, geopolitical demands, and economic strain have all created a difficult environment. When the military is repeatedly asked to carry burdens that stretch beyond its traditional role, tension naturally rises. Some generals may feel that certain decisions place the country at unnecessary risk. Others may worry that their loyalty could implicate them in actions they cannot justify. And still, others may simply feel that the pressure has reached a breaking point. The concept of refusal inside a rigid hierarchy can take many forms. It could be silent resistance, slow execution of commands, internal arguments, or direct disagreement behind closed doors. None of these would appear in public because the Belarusian system is designed to conceal internal conflict. However, even small acts of hesitation can send shockwaves through the leadership. The top may interpret hesitation as betrayal, and the generals may view overly aggressive orders as reckless. This quiet tug-of-war can escalate quickly, even if the public only hears distant echoes. Part of the reason for rising tension may come from Belarus's delicate geopolitical position. The country stands between powerful forces, dependent on alliances yet wary of excessive influence. Some military leaders may feel that certain demands from external partners are too heavy. Others may fear that Belarus is being pushed into strategic decisions that compromise national stability. When generals believe that the country's autonomy is shrinking or that the risks of certain actions outweigh the benefits, they may begin to question the orders placed before them. Another factor is the internal morale within the armed forces. Soldiers, officers, and military families all experience the consequences of political decisions. If morale drops, if uncertainty grows, or if internal divisions deepen, senior commanders may feel compelled to defend their units from unreasonable demands. Generals often carry not only strategic responsibility, but also personal responsibility for their troops. When they sense that their soldiers are being pushed beyond acceptable limits, refusal becomes not only possible, but, in their view, necessary. A system built on fear and pressure often expects unquestioning obedience, but fear-based obedience is fragile. It works only as long as people believe there is no alternative. The moment they realize that hesitation is possible or that others share their concerns, confidence in the system erodes. Analysts often describe such dynamics as silent fractures. They begin quietly, but once they start, they are hard to stop. Even if the generals remain outwardly loyal, internal doubt begins reshaping their decisions. These tensions also highlight something deeper: the generational shift within Belarusian leadership. Some generals came up through old systems, shaped by decades of stability and predictability. Younger officers, however, have lived through years of uncertainty and rapid geopolitical changes. These two generations may not see the world in the same way. Conflicts of perspective can lead to disagreements over strategy, priorities, and risks. When such disagreements occur at the top, they filter through the entire chain of command. Another issue is the increasing strain between political goals and military reality. Leaders often view the military as an instrument to project power, enforce policy, or display control. But generals view the military through the lens of practical capability, logistics, and strategy. If political orders conflict with military logic, friction becomes inevitable. Generals may resist because they believe certain decisions will fail. They may resist because they foresee damaging consequences. Or they may resist because they feel responsible for preventing catastrophe. As international pressure on Belarus grew over the past few years, the leadership intensified its reliance on the security apparatus. This has placed the military in a sensitive position. They are expected to be both a shield and a tool, often pushed into roles that blur the lines between defense and politics. Some generals may feel that these expectations cross professional boundaries. When military institutions are dragged into political struggles, their leaders face ethical dilemmas. Saying yes to every order becomes harder when each order carries political weight. Inside such an environment, even a moment of hesitation takes on huge significance. The leadership may view refusal real or perceive as disloyalty. Generals, meanwhile, may view certain orders as irresponsible. This creates a dangerous cycle. The leadership tightens control, the generals feel trapped, the atmosphere grows tense, and the possibility of further resistance increases. Analysts say such cycles often escalate unless there is a deliberate effort to restore trust and balance. Economic stress adds more fuel. When a country faces financial pressures, the military feels it too. Budget cuts, shortages, delayed payments, or strained logistics can frustrate commanders. If the military is asked to carry out major operations or maintain high readiness levels under worsening conditions, morale can drop quickly. When the troops are unhappy, commanders feel the pressure directly. This may push generals to push back against orders that demand more than their forces can realistically provide. There is also a psychological dimension. Generals are human. They feel stress, doubt, fear, and responsibility. When they sense that the situation around them is spiraling, they may question decisions more deeply. Some may worry about their future. Others may fear becoming scapegoats. Still, others may worry that blind obedience could place them on the wrong side of history. These personal calculations matter more than people realize, because they shape the mindset of those holding power. International observers often compare Belarus's situation to other historical examples where internal military resistance signaled deeper cracks in governance. While each country's circumstances are unique, the pattern is familiar. Political pressure rises, institutions become strained, decision-making grows erratic, and eventually senior figures begin to... Resist. It doesn't always lead to collapse, but it always signals a turning point. The question is how the leadership responds. Some analysts argue that the leadership may try to reassert control by reshuffling command positions, promoting loyalists, or removing those seen as unreliable. Such moves could temporarily restore order, but they can also deepen distrust. If generals feel they are being targeted, punished, or replaced unfairly, they may become even more resistant. Replacing experienced leaders with loyal newcomers can also weaken military effectiveness, creating new risks. Other analysts believe the leadership may attempt negotiation behind closed doors, offering incentives, security guarantees, or concessions to calm the situation. This approach can buy time, but it rarely resolves the underlying issues. Once generals openly or quietly resist, restoring complete loyalty becomes very difficult. The leadership may find itself constantly monitoring for signs of dissent, while the generals continue to harbor doubts. Meanwhile, the situation affects the wider population. Citizens often sense when the system is unstable. Rumors spread, discussions intensify, and uncertainty grows. When people believe the leadership and the military are not fully aligned, they start to imagine different futures. Some feel anxious, others feel hopeful, but uncertainty itself becomes a powerful force, shaping public expectations and influencing how events unfold. In geopolitical terms, neighboring countries watch closely. Belarus sits in a region where stability is incredibly important. Any hint of internal tension within its military becomes a major concern for its allies and its critics. External actors may interpret internal resistance in different ways, some as a warning sign, others as an opportunity. This external attention can add even more pressure to Belarusian leadership and its generals. The potential refusal of orders also raises questions about Belarus's role in regional security dynamics. If the military is divided or uncertain, its ability to act decisively becomes limited. That may reduce its usefulness as a strategic partner or complicate regional planning. For the leadership, this creates another layer of complexity. They must maintain stability at home while trying to appear strong abroad. But internal fissures make this balance far more difficult. Some experts say that generals may be resisting not because they oppose the leadership entirely, but because they want to protect the long-term interests of the military and the nation. They may worry that overly aggressive actions could permanently damage the country's standing. They may feel that diplomacy offers better outcomes than confrontation. They may simply want to avoid unnecessary conflict. In systems where leaders and generals have different priorities, such tension is inevitable. Another angle is institutional survival. Generals often think in terms of preserving their institution for future generations. If they believe that certain orders could weaken the military, drain its resources, or compromise its integrity, they may push back. This resistance is not personal, it's structural. It reflects a clash between long-term institutional logic and short-term political goals. Inside such a tense environment, trust becomes the rarest commodity. The leadership may trust only a few individuals, while the generals trust only each other. This creates an atmosphere of suspicion. Every decision becomes risky. Every disagreement becomes magnified. The leadership fears betrayal. The generals fear punishment. Both sides feel endangered. In this kind of environment, even small incidents can escalate into major confrontations. Observers have noted that once internal resistance begins, it often spreads quietly. Officers talk among themselves. Units pick up on the mood, rumors circulate, the sense of uncertainty becomes contagious. This passive resistance can be as powerful as open defiance. When the system relies on absolute obedience, even subtle hesitation becomes destabilizing. At the same time, the leadership's response becomes unpredictable. They may tighten control or soften their tone. They may issue harsh warnings or offer reassurances. Such mixed signals can worsen the confusion. Generals may wonder whether the leadership is strong or insecure. Troops may wonder whether discipline is being enforced or whether chaos is brewing. The entire structure becomes harder to manage. Analysts often mention that these moments test the character of individuals involved. Some generals may choose loyalty over caution. Others may choose caution over loyalty. Some may play both sides, trying to survive in uncertainty. The leadership may try to divide the generals or force them into displays of loyalty. These psychological maneuvers can intensify tension rather than resolve it. The broader public may begin to sense a shift even without official statements. People notice the tone of state media. They notice changes in speeches. They notice unusual military movements. They notice silence where there would normally be announcements. These subtle signals contribute to a general sense that something significant is happening behind closed doors. Even if the exact details remain hidden, the atmosphere changes. If generals indeed resist certain orders, the leadership faces a difficult dilemma. Punishing them could provoke further resistance. Ignoring them could encourage more refusal. Replacing them could weaken military competence. Compromising with them could be seen as a sign of weakness. None of these options is ideal, and each carries risks. In such situations, timing becomes crucial. Both sides may feel that they must act at the right moment. The leadership may try to assert control swiftly to prevent further defection. The generals may try to delay certain actions in hopes of calming the situation. This creates a strategic standoff, even if no open conflict occurs. The tension is real, even if invisible from the outside. Some analysts suggest that the most probable outcome is not open confrontation, but a slow, uneasy adjustment. The leadership may quietly soften certain orders. The generals may quietly comply in exchange for certain assurances. The system may limp forward, weakened but still intact. This is common in highly centralized systems. They often survive crises not through strength, but through compromise disguised as stability. But even if the crisis fades temporarily, its memory lingers. Generals who hesitated will be watched more closely. Leaders who felt challenged will become more cautious or more suspicious. The relationship between political authority and military leadership may never fully return to its previous shape. Once trust is broken, it rarely returns completely. The long-term consequences may include internal reshuffling, strategic recalibration, or even institutional reforms. The system may try to strengthen internal discipline, restructure command chains, or increase monitoring. But such measures can backfire if they increase pressure without addressing deeper concerns. A system that forces obedience without restoring confidence may find itself facing more resistance later. For the international community, these developments send mixed messages. On one hand, internal resistance in a rigid system can signal the possibility of future change. On the other hand, instability in a geopolitically sensitive region can create new risks. Allies may worry about reliability. Neighbors may worry about unpredictability. Everyone becomes more alert. For the Belarusian people, the situation may shape their expectations about the future. They may wonder whether internal changes will eventually reach them. They may hope for greater dialogue or fear greater repression. They may see the generals as potential moderating forces or as participants in a power struggle, but above all, they sense that the old certainty of the system is fading. As the situation continues to evolve, one thing is clear: moments when generals refuse orders mark turning points in any centralized system. Whether these moments lead to crisis, reform, or deeper tension depends on countless factors: personal, institutional, political, and international. The path forward remains uncertain, shaped not only by decisions made at the top, but by the pressures acting on every part of the system. In the end, This unfolding scenario in Belarus reflects a deeper truth about power. Systems built on absolute obedience are strong only until obedience begins to crack. Once doubt enters, power becomes harder to wield. Once resistance appears, even quietly, the system enters a new phase. The coming months may reveal whether Belarus's leadership can rebuild trust or whether the fractures will deepen. For now, the world watches closely, aware that small moments of refusal can have enormous consequences. If you found this explanation valuable, stay tuned, because the situation in Belarus continues to evolve, and we will be following every development with careful analysis, clarity, and context. Thanks for watching, and make sure to join us again for more in-depth breakdowns of major unfolding events.